Have you ever noticed how much of the spiritual life feels like fighting the same battle over and over? You confess your sins. You leave the confessional determined that this time things will be different. And for a while it is. Then the impatience returns, the pride, the discouragement, the anxiety, the lust, the selfishness. Whatever your particular struggle may be, it can feel like you're climbing the same mountain again and again. If you've ever asked yourself, will I ever really change? You're not alone. But what if God's plan is greater than simply helping you commit fewer sins? What if He wants to destroy the very roots from which those sins grow? Well, that's exactly what Jesus reveals to the servant of God, Luisa Piccarreta, throughout the book of heaven. He doesn't simply speak about avoiding sin. He speaks about restoring the soul to its original order through the gift of living in the divine will. Today, I'd like to explore what that means and why it offers tremendous hope to anyone who sincerely desires holiness. Most of us think of sin as individual actions. I lied, I lost my temper, I judged someone, I was impatient. Those are sins. But Jesus consistently goes deeper. He says the root problem is the human will operating apart from the divine will. Jesus told Luisa, the divine will made use of the human will as material in its hands to continue creation. This is why man, by rejecting our will, made its operating life cease in his acts, which he could have made use of to create and transform them into heavens, into stars, into suns, into seas, etc. He obstructed our work. He stopped it. He threw into confusion our sweet harmonies, the dear exchanges that could only exist by virtue of our volition. Jesus never teaches that the human will itself is evil. Rather, he consistently teaches that it was created good, but became disordered when man separated his will from the divine will. That's an important distinction. Think about Adam and Eve. Before original sin, there was harmony. Their intellect, their memory, their will, their emotions, their desires, everything operated under God's divine order. Then came one act of self-will. I will decide. And that one act introduced disorder into all of human nature. The Catechism speaks of this as concupiscence, the disorder within us that remains even after baptism. That's why St. Paul writes in his letter to the Romans, I do not do the good that I want, but the evil I do not want, that is what I do. All of us know exactly what St. Paul means. Our passions pull us in one direction, while grace pulls in another. Jesus tells Luisa that his mission is not only to forgive sin, but to restore the divine order itself. He says there's nothing more important, nothing greater, which will establish the balance, the order, the harmony, the likeness between creator and creature than my will. This is why I want to make known what the divine will and the human will are, so that they may be reconciled. My will may acquire its kingdom, and creatures may be given back all the goods they lost. One of the most beautiful themes in the book of heaven is that Jesus says he redid every human act during his life. Think about Nazareth. For 30 years he worked, he ate, he rested, he prayed, he obeyed, he suffered, he smiled, he loved. Every one of those ordinary human acts was done in the divine will. Jesus tells Luisa that he redid all the acts that humanity failed to do. This is how Luisa explains it. I comprehended with clarity that because the divinity operated in the humanity of Jesus Christ during the whole course of his life, blessed Jesus redid for all, in general and for each one individually, everything that each one is obliged to do toward God, in such a way that he adored God for each one in particular. He thanked, repaired, glorified for each one. He praised, suffered, prayed for each one. And I comprehended that everything that each one must do has already been done in the heart of Jesus Christ. In other words, he restored what Adam had lost and what each one of us had lost through our lack of faithfulness. He tells Luisa that his will has the virtue of destroying evil and communicating good. Think of sunlight. If you've ever entered a dark room, you don't have to sweep out the darkness. You simply open the curtains. Darkness disappears because light has entered. Jesus repeatedly compares his divine will to the sun. The more we live in his will, the more divine light fills our soul and drives out sin. And that's when real transformation begins to happen. Jesus replaces our disordered passions with his own divine life. Every act done in the divine will allows another ray of divine light into the soul. But remember, one act doesn't transform everything overnight, but thousands of acts, day after day, year after year, gradually restore God's order within us. This is exactly what living in the divine will accomplishes. When our acts become united with his acts, our will with his will, he begins to live in and through us. Like I said, that's real transformation. Jesus never teaches that merely saying, I enter into the divine will instantly removes all temptation. God always respects our freedom. Every day we need to choose again. And slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly, God begins undoing decades of disorder. Perhaps you've spent years trying to overcome your sins, trying harder, making stronger resolutions, reading more books, finding better methods. Those things all have their place, but maybe Jesus is inviting you into something deeper. Instead of asking yourself, how can I conquer my sins? Begin by asking, how can I give Jesus more room to live his divine will in me? He isn't merely changing our behavior. He's restoring his own life within us, one divine act at a time, one surrender at a time, one fiat at a time. We serve a wonderful God. He's inviting us into his will. Say yes. Fiat, Lord, thy will be done. If this reflection has encouraged you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who longs not only to be forgiven, but to be transformed. Until next time, may the kingdom of the divine will reign in your heart. Fiat.